So with your, going back to your very first car, what class did you start out in?
They were called limited stocks. Basically, it was a full-size car that you put a roll cage in. You could put jack and bolts in it, remount the shocks, put racing shocks on. You do a little bit of work to the motor. You know. Yeah, they call them limited stocks. And they were pretty popular. We actually, in '79, we did our first road trip. There was a track up in Utah that ran the exact same rules called Santana Raceway. We actually went up there and raced once. We did pretty good. I think we finished fourth there. I had the desire to go travel to other tracks from the get-go, something I would want to do. I guess that's where the 51 tracks came from.
What exactly got you into racing? Was it friends or family?
My dad. I grew up around racing. My dad raced at the old Craig Road Speedway. I grew up watching them race 57 Chevys. So, you know.
They destroyed a lot of those.
They did. Myself, my first car was a 65 Chevelle. I turned into a race car. But no, my dad raced as a kid, 8, 10 years old. Couldn't go in the pits, but every day after school I was in the shop tinkering with the race cars. As a kid, the most you got to do was wash parts. That's about all they wouldn't let you work on anything of any importance back then.
Tell me a little bit about your crew.
My crew, Kirk and Glenn have been with me since we went to high school together. We've been together ever since. They still go through the races with me. As we're getting older, health issues have plagued all of us at one time or another. But no, we all went to high school together and just enjoy racing and going and having a good time. My most successful stint was the 15 years that Dan and I raced together. Dan came along and watched my operation and said, he goes, I see talent, and goes, you just need a little help in your setup and stuff and how you're running your whole race program. And Dan came along, and Dan and I together won, I think it's more than 11 different track championships. We won the IMCA Regional Championship together. Our last track championship came in 2013, the year that he passed away. We've won El Centro, Casa Grande, even Paris, California, the track out here. Tonopah Speedway, we won that one. I think El Centro we won a couple of times. Pahrump, the little quarter mile dirt track over the hill, we won the championship there. So we've had a really good success with the dirt modifieds. I like them because they're more a driver's talk. It's not just about having a big motor and engineer doing your setup on your car. It's driving it. It's a lot of fun to race. I really like the IMCA racing.
How do you like the, well, first tell me a little bit about your modified. How'd you get it? How'd you come to starting the series?
Well,
last year was your rookie year, right?
Yeah. Dana Stahl called me. Well, I drove another guy's car in the Lucas series.
That's right, at Irwindale.
Yeah. I drove another guy's car, and it looks similar to this. He brought the car over and said if we finished putting it together, we could race it. We threw a body on it, put the red body in and put a 115 on it. And I ran 3 races with the car, and we didn't do very well with it. It was a real old car, and I just was kind of discouraged, so I gave it back to the guy. Well, a year later, Dana calls me and says, I'm looking for some frames, and I had a connection with the junkyard here, a local junkyard. I called over there and talked to Steve, and he said, yeah, I just happen to have, I want about 20 frames already stripped out of the cars here in the junkyard that were supposed to go to somebody. The guy never came and picked them up. Supposedly he had passed away or whatever. He says, they're yours if you want to come get them. We'll make a deal on them. So I called Dana back and I said, yeah, I got as many frames as you want, I think, And at the same time we got in lower A-arms and spindles. And Dana says, well, how about I trade them for a race car? And I'm like, yeah, I'll be 60 here. I don't need another race car. I already got 2 and I got my hands full. And I thought about it, what the heck. So we traded the frames for a rolling chassis and brought it home, put it all together, and ran the Lucas series last year. And we finished second in the rookie points. We had I want to say a very dismal year. We just couldn't seem to get our act together with the car. We didn't have a motor. When I got the car, I had no plan on running nothing, and I didn't have a motor for it. So I took my backup motor out of my late model, which is a 425 horse 350, and we put it in for the first part of the year. We did okay. Then later in the year, I got my motor from my engine builder, who's in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, up there by Post Falls, just outside of Spokane, across the border from Spokane. So it's not real easy to just go grab a motor from him. But once we put the motor in, the car seemed to do a little better. But we struggled with the setup and stuff. But, how we came about the car was we just traded some frames for it and put it together. So now I got 3 race cars to deal with, which at 60, that's a tall order to keep up with.
What'd you think of the modified series? Everybody treat you good? You were pretty good at staying out of trouble.
Yeah. Well, I had talked to different people. Like Chris Spray, I raced against his dad back when I first started racing. And I had run some, like when we won the championship at the bull ring with our dirt car, we had run against like Doug Hammond and guys. I had raced with them before. So we kind of had a pretty good idea what we were getting into. I knew it was a very competitive series, probably one of the most competitive series in the country. And the guys that are fast there, they've been there a while. They've got their programs well in order. So we had a little better, higher expectations than we did. Our best finish was 12th at Madera, and we thought we could have done better than that. But it was kind of a letdown. We thought we were going to run better than we did. But the series is just competitive. I like the treatment. I like the different tracks. Scheidegger and Rosen treated us excellently. All the other racers were really cool to us. Everybody seemed to get along. Didn't have any real altercations on the track. A couple little bumps and grinds here and there, but knowing racing like I do, the first key is to finish all the races, get as much track time. Most of the tracks in the series I have been to, but with a late model. So they're a different car. Your information on a late model doesn't correlate to a modified. They don't run the same gear, they don't run anything the same. So we had to go run all these different tracks again just to get some input on what gear to run, how much stagger to run, stuff like that. So it was a learning curve for us, but we had fun. And like I say, the treatment from the whole Lucas family there was great. That part I really liked.
So you said you had the late model at some of these same tracks.
Yeah.
What kind of tire do you run on the late model versus the tires on the modifieds?
Some of the late model races we run, like we ran the Rocky Mountain Challenge years, they run on a 10-inch slick. Havasu runs on an 8-inch treaded tire, the 970, where the modified runs on a 700. They're 8-inch tires are totally different compounds. They don't even work the same. The late models are heavier. They're so different. But
with the modified tire, does that really add to the challenge?
Yeah, it was a lot different tire than I expected. It's not very forgiving. You can abuse it real quick in a hurry, and having that dirt experience, having a car freed up and on the right rear a lot, those cars don't like that. I mean, it don't take long to kill a right rear tire. So yeah, there was a couple of races where I had my hands full trying to keep things straight on the track.
So I'm guessing the first few races were a real big learning curve, and then as you got to know the tire and stuff like that.
Yeah, the whole series was a learning curve. All the information we had from any of the tracks we had run before with the late model was pretty much worthless. We had to start from scratch, and with a new car. And my late model is a conventional sprung car. This modified, we started out with bump stops on all 4 corners, and that was also a learning curve. Everything we did just piled that much more on us as far as the learning curve. We struggled a lot with the bump stops. We wound up by the end of the year, we only had bump stops on the front. And this year we're actually going to go with a conventional setup. We're going to start the season with conventional. We'll get rid of bump stops. I'm not sure that bump stops on a modified are the way to go. I'm not convinced on that. A lot of guys will run a bump stop on the left front. That may work for us. We'll see. But we're going to start out conventional.
So you mentioned getting a new motor from your engine builder.
Yeah.
I've seen your engine shop.
Yeah.
Did he? How come you didn't build your own motor versus getting one from this guy?
Time is a lot of it. You know, like my late model motor, the one sitting here next to us, that's my spare motor. I did that one. When I've got the time, I'll do my own motors, but Mike stepped up and offered to build me the motors. So I shipped all the parts up to him and he put it all together. So he's an excellent engine builder, probably one of the best in the country. I met him through my old crew chief, Dan Geiger. Him and I hit it off. When we went up to Idaho and Washington with the dirt modified, he went with us to some of the big money races up there. He traveled with us and saw that, hey, these guys run pretty good, you know. He started helping us with the motors and stuff, and it's been a good relationship. He doesn't charge me anything for his labor, so I get by with a lower cost motor. I mean, they're top of the line parts, but Mike, because he likes me and wants to help, he throws his labor in there for free.
Who was that again?
Mike Rice, this company here, Performance Associates in Idaho.
And did he come to a couple of the races?
Yeah, he went to Madera with us. He's been to a few of the late model races at Havasu. He went to Madera with us. I think the first race at Madera last year, he went there. And we didn't have the new motor then. We still had the old motor. He could see that we were struggling on motor. But yeah, Mike's been an excellent asset to our program. But yeah, as far as I have everything to do motors. I've done my motors most of my career. It's just time. You know, I'm kind of a one-man show. You know, I got two guys that come over and help here and there, and they go to race with me. But having 3 race cars, it's really, I shouldn't be messing with 3 race. I should be happy with 1. But every once in a while, I just get the urge. I want to go dirt racing, and dirt racing's fun, and it doesn't cost near as much. I mean, for what it costs to run the late model and the modified cost about the same amount of money. I could run that dirt car probably 6 to 8 races on what one pavement race cost me. The biggest expense is tires. You know, you're late model or modified, a new set of tires every race. The dirt car, you could go 4 to 6 races on a set of tires. So that's more costly, or cost effective. The wear and tear on the car, you know, the tracks go dry slick, you just don't work the motors as hard, so the motors will run longer. When the tracks go dry slick, you don't need 800 horsepower. You know, you get by with 400, 450 real easy on a dry slick track. So it's more about setup and driver, so that's why I like the dirt, racing dirt. And like I say, it's way more cost effective.
I've spoke to some of the other guys that run late models, and I've asked them, you know, just kind of jokingly, you know, when you're gonna get in the modified. And I've heard a few of them say the modifieds are so much more expensive. Now that you've run both, would you say the modifieds are a lot more expensive, or about the same, or?
About the same. You know, where the cost incurred with this Lucas series is the travel. You know, like when I run my late model, I just go to Havasu and back. It's no big deal. And they run a 6 race series over 4 weeks or 4 nights. We run 2 double headers, so it's cost effective to do that. Where the Lucas series, you know, when you go to Tucson or Madera, I got to take Friday off of work to drive down there. So I got a motel to drive down, which is further, a motel room for Friday and Saturday because it's a Saturday night race. I can't drive back in the time. So you wind up losing 3 days. You know, you're there Friday, Saturday, and you drive home Sunday. So the added expense is in the series itself. You know, you got pit passes for 2 days, where the late model you don't. The late model you could run on used tires, you wouldn't be as competitive. The Lucas series, you can't. You wouldn't even try to run on used tires. You wouldn't have a prayer. Or you're going to be buying new tires every race. And I think it's even in their rules you have to qualify on stickers. So. But cost to cost, the motor costs are about the same. You know, the motor are somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 a piece. The suspension parts are kind of basically the same springs and shocks. I don't see where there's that much cost difference, other than that the Lucas series has the traveling expenses with it. But your outright car cost, race to race, about the same.
So I see some guys at the bigger tracks will put in a big motor, and then when we go to smaller tracks, they'll put in a smaller motor. Are you going to do any of that this year?
No, I got the 377. It's a pretty stout motor. My builder says it's supposed to be right about 6 to 625 horsepower based on the pieces that are in it. So might be a little lax on the bigger tracks like Kern and Irwindale, but it should be able to keep up. The smaller tracks, you just slow the throttle linkage down a little bit, ease up on the throttle, and be fine. Some guys will put a different gear in so they don't work the motor as hard. I just put the same gear in. I learned to control the throttle from the dirt racing. It feels more like driving a dirt car. Just don't spin the tires.
How'd you like Kern?
I liked Kern. Kern was, it's fast. It's a fun track, real racy. I noticed in general, the field of cars, they didn't race as close and as aggressive as they did, say, at Tucson or Madera. There was a little more, I want to say, mutual respect. We're going pretty fast here. Let's give ourselves a little more room.
A little more cushion?
Yeah, and they weren't quite as aggressive, because that's a fast track for the cars. It really is.
How do you like running the modified at Orange Show?
That's an interesting one, because it's the total opposite end of the spectrum. When you're going through the middle of the corner, you swear you could get out and run faster than your car's going. But Orange Show's totally the opposite. It's push and pump and bang, and they race close and aggressive, and everybody's in take mode there. There's no give at all there. So it's the opposite end of the spectrum of Kern.
Which one would you say you favor more? The bigger track and going fast?
I like the bigger
tracks. Shorter
tracks.
track, door to door, bumper to bumper?
I like the bigger tracks. I seem to have more success on the small ones, but I like the bigger ones. It takes a different feel for each track, and you'll see that some guys are good on the big tracks and bad on the small, and vice versa. So it's just the comfort of your car, how your car feels. I can almost guarantee you nobody likes a real loose car going into the corners at Kern. That probably unnerves a lot of people. Where if it's a little loose on the entry at the Orange Show, you chase it up the track a little bit.
Have you ever taken a year or two off from racing, or you've been racing pretty much?
I usually run somewhere between 26 to 30 races a year on the average. They say from 2000 to 2007, I think I'd have to look at my notes, but 2000 or 2001, I ran 68 races. One year like 68, 62. The year we won the championship, we actually ran less. I think we ran 58 races and then won the championship. And that had to do with the point structure. 2001, I didn't win the Western Regional Championship because I didn't get any bonus points. Bonus points are for track championships. I traveled around, didn't run any one track the whole season. We just kept hitting different tracks to accumulate wins. When it came to the end of the year, I didn't get any bonus points. 2002, the 3 track championships, I got the bonus points, we won the region. So it wasn't just about volume of races, but winning championships. In that year, 2002, we got lucky that Vegas, El Centro didn't conflict. They raced opposite weekends, and Casa Grande ran on Sunday nights. So it didn't conflict with any of the 3. So I could run all 3 tracks and not miss a single race. So that worked out really good. I mean, I got lucky that happened. And anybody will tell you, there's a lot of luck in racing. Winning those 3 championships. Vegas, that was our home track. We dominated. El Centro, I really liked that track. I did well there. We pretty much kind of dominated that track. Casa Grande, I got lucky and just finished up front, stayed out of trouble, and won a few races there, and just lucked out and won the championship. I want to say it was a lot of luck in that one.
What would you say is your greatest racing accomplishment?
Jeez. Probably winning the IMCA regional championship. That was probably the toughest thing to do, just by the fact that we had to run all the different tracks. It's based on your 30 best finishes. So the maximum points you can get is 30 wins. The guys that win the national championship usually have 30 wins. And they usually come out of the Midwest where they run 80 or 90 races. So they can win 30. I had only won 22 that year, so we weren't going to win the national championship. Came close, but couldn't quite do it. That year, 2002, when we won the regional and all the track championships, that was probably my best year and my biggest accomplishment. Because you go to the big banquet in Boone, Iowa, and you get on the stage, and we were on the cover of the IMCA newspaper with our regional championship trophy and the 3-track championship trophies and all that. That was pretty cool. IMCA treats their people really nice. They have a big banquet for all their regional champions and stuff every year. So that was cool to go back there and be on the stage with all the big guns from the Midwest. So that was pretty cool. Winning the Winter Series in Arizona at Mojave, that was pretty cool because there was about 60 cars showed up for that series, and some of the best guys in the country at it. And we won the opening race. I think we won 3 of the 10 races, and the ones we didn't win, we finished real well. But there was some very competitive guys in there, very competitive guys.
And what would you say was your worst year?
My worst year? Probably last year in the Lucas car. As far as results, we had fun. So, when you ask the question worst year, as far as stats racing, it was my worst year. A 12th place finish was my best. Even with the old late model, we were usually a top 5, top 3 car anywhere we go. To finish 12th, it was my best race. That sucked.
This year should be a lot better.
I'm looking forward to doing better. We showed progression as the year went on, and I would be the first to admit I probably underestimated that series a little bit. I thought we would do better than we did, but it's a tough series. There's no doubt about that.
But the car is better. You'd be starting out with a better motor.
Yeah, we're starting out with a good motor.
You didn't get that new motor until almost towards the end, right?
We had it the last
3 or 4 races?
3 races, I think. Havasu we had it, Vegas we had it. Wasn't Madera one of the last 3? I think we had it the last race at Madera. I know we didn't have it at Kern. We didn't have it at Irwindale. We didn't have it at Tucson. I think it was the last 2 or 3 races.
I'll be real interested to see how it runs at Kern.
Yeah. Well, so will I. Yeah, Kern was embarrassing. It was horrible. We were down probably 2 to 250 horsepower on everything.
Well, I walked around the different pits and I asked them, I go, if you were running Kern for the whole year, what kind of motor would you want? And they pretty much said around 625.
Yeah.
And you're pretty close to that right now,
Yeah.
right?
And cars that we ran with on the smaller tracks, or even cars that we outran on the smaller tracks, they killed me on the bigger tracks because it wasn't about handling or driving, they just outmotored me. And the straightaways are so long there that the 5 or 6 or 7 car lengths you lose in a straightaway, you're lucky to get 1 or 2 of them back in the corner. So yeah, you're going to get beat pretty bad.
Tell me about some of your sponsorships you've had over the years.
We've had some outstanding relationships with some major companies. Back in my earlier late model days racing at the Bull Ring, we had Swenson's Ice Cream sponsor us. We had Dolly Madison, Heidi's Yogurt. I've had K&N Filters sponsor me. Had some outstanding relationships. Like the Swenson's ice cream, they sponsored me for 7 years.
What'd you get from them? Ice cream?
Yeah, well, we did. We had the freezer was always full of ice cream, but it was a money sponsor. And back then, I would tell the guys, a lot of guys would get a sponsorship, a real good sponsorship, use up all the money, and really give their sponsors nothing in return. You know, at the end of the year, they'd lose the sponsorship. With Swenson's, we actually had 2 race cars. We had a display car. Whenever they opened a new Swenson's ice cream, we'd take the race car and put it there. I mean, we did a lot of promotional stuff, and the Western Regional Manager loved that. I tell people, it's not just putting the name or the sticker on the side of the car, it's all the other things you do. The Western Regional Manager of Swenson's son actually got into the racing and started going to the races with us. And I became like a big brother to him. So that relationship, 7 years they sponsored me. It was an excellent run. I mean, we had a really good time. K&N, my friend Dan Geiger, he hooked me up with them, 10, 12 years ago. I still have a product up on the shelf that they've given me I haven't used. They've been an excellent sponsor. The Lucas series, Lucas Oil sponsor, you know, the things they do for promoting the series, the things they do, the contingency stuff I won at the end of the year, all of that was excellent. So I try to tell racers, you know, a sponsorship is more than just a sticker on a car or a logo on your car. You know, it's the things you can do for it. But, I've enjoyed the companies I've worked with. I have a good relationship with Kenny Sapper at Speedway Engineering. I have a good relationship with Kelly Falls at Hypercoil Springs. Chaz Howe at Howe Racing, he's taken care of me for years. He gives me a good deal on parts for my late model. A lot of people have helped me over the years like that. I'm deeply indebted to my sponsors that have helped me. Without them, I wouldn't have done near the racing I did. You know, even Mike Rice, my engine builder, he likes me, he likes my program, he wants to help, and he builds my motors for me. I mean, that relief of not having to worry about getting my parts and getting my motor together in time, so I can focus more on my cars. There's a trickle-down effect from what the sponsors can do. Trying to teach the younger people that a little harder to do.
Who's the sponsors you have for your modified and late model now?
K&N still behind me. Kelly at Hypercoil, Speedway Engineering, Howe. We're looking at trying something different. I was going to do like a dedication car, take my late model and put all of my sponsors I've had over all the years back on the car and put them all on there. And we were also going to try, there's some companies out there that I really like their program and what they do. And instead of going to them and saying, you know, hey, why don't you sponsor me, run their name without doing anything else but promoting them. You get what I'm saying? So let me see what I can do for you first before I come ask for something. We've talked to a couple of different people about that concept. They're like, that's a whole different approach. Instead of going, knocking on the door, hey, can you help me go race? Here, let me put the name on the car. Let me see what I can do for you. So if I can really promote your business, you'll come back and go, I like this. I want to be involved with this. We're working on a deal right now with a major company to try something like that. I don't know that we're going to have it put together for the first Lucas race. I would like to, but we're down to a week away from that, and I don't know that it's going to come together. It could, but I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on that until it happens. But it's a different approach. It's something we're going to try. And I don't know that anyone's ever done something like that before. And in racing, you got to think out of the box. Sometimes, you know, you get stuck. So, but yeah, the sponsors I have, Speedway Engineering, Kenny helped me over the years. That's all the hubs and rear end and stuff in the car here come from him.
Do you want to talk about the Alaska thing?
Yeah, Mike Rice, my engine builder. I'll back up. Mike had asked me to come race up in Idaho this last year with the late model. So we took it up there and left it at the shop right there at the track, and we flew back and forth to race the car there. And we missed about 4 races, but we did pretty good in the 6 that we ran. The promoter there liked our whole program. I don't tear my cars up. I run competitive. We made a good showing. Well, that promoter moved on to a track in Alaska, and he asked Mike, "Hey, would Mark want to come up here and run one of the rental cars up there?" Mike called me, and I said, "Well, yeah, I'd like to try that." Well, the latest rumor is they're going to pay Kenny Schrader to come up there and run that race, and I've run against Schrader back in the early 2000s at Casa Grande. They'd have the Winter Series over there for the dirt late models and the modifieds, and Kenny'd come over and race with us there. I even raced against Kenny at the old bull ring. He's one of them guys, they pay him to show up at the short tracks, so he'll come and race. And he raced once with us at the bull ring many years ago. So I'm kind of looking forward to it if that does happen, racing against Kenny up there. But yeah, Mike put that deal together. Sometime this summer we're going to go up to Alaska and race some racetrack. I don't even know where it's at. I just said, sign me up, I'll do that. I'll take that.
Well, I've checked my schedule if you need a personal photographer. You raced at Saugus.
I raced at Saugus.
How many years? What'd you run?
Ran the late model. They call them super late models now. Back then we just called them late models. They're, basically the same car I've got now. I raced against a bunch of people there. Raced against Ron Hornaday over there even. Dan Press, Jim Thurkettle, Travis Thurkettle's dad, raced over there. He was kind of one of the kings of that track. He kicked butt there. Yeah.
Because you mentioned to me earlier this week that you're still in touch with Sapper.
Yeah, I just went to dinner with Kenny last week. He was up for the NASCAR race, and it was Wednesday. Him and I and another longtime friend went to dinner. I actually went to a NASCAR test session with Kenny here about a month ago, I think it was. That was interesting to go to an actual closed-door NASCAR test session to see what those guys do. It was interesting. But yeah, Kenny and I go back. I raced against Kenny at Saugus.
About when?
The late 80s, early 90s. I forget what year Saugus closed down.
I think around, was it 94 or 96?
That sounds about right. So yeah, between the late 80s and early 90s, we raced at Saugus. They used to have at the end of the year, they'd have like a series where when El Cajon was running, Orange Show, Vegas, the old Mesa Marin, Saugus, they go from one track to the next. And that's when all the guys from back east, I want to see the big name racers from the back east. Dick Trickett came out here. Mark Martin. I seen Mark Martin race at the old Craig Road Speedway. Larry Phillips, Larry Deaches, Tom Raffner, a bunch of them guys. Don Biederman. They all came out here at the end of the year because in the Midwest, in the fall, they were done racing. So they'd come out here and run in the fall. They call them the Fall Classics. Like the one of them, the Saugus 330, it was 330 laps at Saugus. That was one of the races. That was a kind of a cool series. They ran, say, Orange Show, Vegas, El Cajon, Saugus, Mesa Marin. Those are the 5 that I can remember.
And for those that don't know, where is Craig's Road?
It's on the north side of town, on the actual street of Craig Road.
Here in Vegas?
Yeah, here in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
It's probably about 5 miles from here. You can kind of see where the old parking lot was. Development grew up around it. They started building houses, and it became more trouble than it was worth to fight with the growing population, people moving around it. And the guy that had run it, his health was starting to deteriorate a little bit, and I think they sold it. The land was worth more than the track was. But the irony is they never built anything on it. It's still desert where that track. If you go out there, you can see remnants of it still today, where it used to be. But I want to say that track ran from, I think they built it in about 66, 65 or 6. And it ran till 82, I believe. 82, 83. God, I can't remember. But, it had a pretty good run. But, that's where I grew up, going to that track and watching them race 57 Chevys on that.
What you did at Sawyer's, was any of that Southwest Tour?
I never ran the tour there. The first year that the Southwest Tour started, I ran Riverside, Phoenix, and the next year we ran Sears Point, Stockton, Mesa Marin, some of the tracks. I never ran the Southwest Tour at Sawyer's. I only ran the Southwest Tour hit and miss the first year. The second year we ran Sears Point and Phoenix, and then I sold the car because it was too expensive. I could not keep up with that series. It was definitely a traveling series. The Lucas series, it's not as bad as the Southwest Tour, but it's still kind of pricey. I did run the Rocky Mountain Challenge series a couple of years ago up in Utah and Idaho with my late model. It fit the rules, so we took it up there and raced it. And that local racer friend of mine, Thane Alderman, had been running that series and said, "Oh, you got to come run it. They treat you really nice. They got a tire rule to keep the expense down. The tracks are real fun." So we went ran Meridian, Salt Lake City, Spokane, and Twin Falls were the tracks they ran up there. We had fun doing that. That was a good series. But yeah, most of your traveling series get kind of pricey after a while.
So you said you run 51 tracks?
51 different tracks.
Alaska will be 52?
Would be 52, yes.
Are any of those road courses?
2 of them. I ran Sears Point and Riverside. I did one race at the old Vegas road course with my limited stock. It really wasn't an organized race. They just said, "Hey, you guys want to come out?" We went out on one Sunday and ran our cars around the track. And that's when I realized, wow, this could be fun, running a road course. But I ran Riverside. I did pretty good at Riverside. Ran Sears Point, and I really liked the road racing. It was fun.
When was the last time you did that?
Sears Point. I was trying to get a deal going they had a late model series at Willow Springs for a few years. We went over and watched one of the races, and it looked like, wow, this could be fun. And they stopped doing it for some reason.
What's the one over here by Edwards Air Force Base?
That's probably Willow Springs.
Is that Willow Springs?
Yeah.
Where's Sears Point?
Sears Point's clear up in Sonoma, California, up past San Francisco. It's way northern California.
Vermilion grew up right across the street from Riverside road course.
Yeah.
What'd you run there?
When did I run Riverside?
When and what? What did you run there?
When I first went to Riverside, they were called NASCAR Grand American cars, which later evolved into being Southwest Tour cars. I ran that car I told you where we cut the 2 cars in half and built the car. That's the first car I ran there, which they were late model type cars. They were a tube chassis with a fiberglass type body on them. And that was in the early, I want to say 82, 3, 4, right along in there is when I did that.
Riverside. Did you know Ivan Baldwin and Bill Spencer?
I watched them as a kid. By the time I started racing, I watched my dad race against Ivan Baldwin. I watched Ivan race at Bill Craigwood Speedway. I remember Bill Spencer. I remember.
Is that the track he crashed and died at?
Yeah, I think Spencer died at Riverside. So did Sonny Easley, was another one that died. Sonny Easley was probably one of the West Coast best drivers there ever was. One of the guys I patterned myself after. He ran a real clean operation. He was real smooth, real fast. He was an outstanding driver and just a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. Sonny Easley was pretty cool. But yeah, I grew up watching Ivan race at Orange Show and the old 605, the older
Speedway 605.
And before it was 605, they called it San Gabriel Valley Speedway.
Oh.
That's way back.
That had to be 60s.
Yeah. But yeah, I grew up, when I went to the Orange Show, I saw Ivan Baldwin, Ray Johnstone, Eddie Gray, Jerry Prather, Odie Roberts, Clem Proctor. There were some of the names of guys that run the Orange Show.
Run with any of the Esau's?
Yeah, the early part of the Southwest Tour, Ron Esau ran in the Southwest Tour then. I run against Ron at some of those series I told you at the end of the year when they ran the different tracks. Ron would run some of those. I remember seeing George and Larry Esau run at the old Craig Road Speedway and the Orange Show. I'd seen him run there.
Was George the dad?
If my memory serves me right, I believe so. George was the oldest.
Where did your dad run?
My dad ran at Craig Road. He started at Craig Road, and then we went to the Orange Show. He went to 605 and Corona. They ran the dirt track at Corona. Back then, they would run the same car. They changed the tires and changed a few things and run the same car on the dirt track that they did the paved track. As a kid going to the races, a lot of times I had to ride in the back of the pickup to go to the races. But hey, as long as we were going to the races, it didn't matter. I'd ride all the way to California in the back of the pickup truck.
So do you think the first race you went to with your dad, about how old were you maybe?
Probably 10 years old.
10?
In 1968, Craig Road Speedway. My dad, his first car was a 55 Chevy. Nothing special. But my dad later on, he ran Riverside. The last car he had was a 66 Chevelle. They took it to Riverside. But yeah, I ran against Esau, Hornaday, Press, and all them guys over the years at all them different tracks. But my memories, like thinking of all the things. But yeah, growing up, my dad raced at Craig Road was the first track, and then Orange Show was the second track I remember going to. The thing I liked about Orange Show, I was just a kid. They go in the pits, and you couldn't even get into the pits until you were 16. So you're familiar with the Orange Show, the grandstands on the pit side. You'd watch the races anytime there was an altercation on the track. You'd run to the top of the stands and look over the back because you could see them duking it out in the pits. As a kid, that was kind of fun. So yeah, I was 10 years old when my dad first started racing. And I got into motorcycle racing about when I was 12, 13 years old because I wanted to race something. Well, that's the only thing a kid could race was a motorcycle. I had one of the little Honda 50s to race. But yeah, the desire to race was in me from day one.
Did you ever run Ascot?
No, Ascot closed before I got a chance to run it. I wished I would have, but I like Paris though. Paris is a fun track. We actually won the championship at Paris. I think 2003 or 4 in the modifieds.
So your dirt cars, have they always been like this? You ever tried sprints or midgets?
No, I'd like to. Always wanted to try a sprint car. I just never got a chance.
I like those King of the Wings that come to Madeira every once in a while.
Yeah.
Those are pretty badass.
Those look like they'd be fun. Well, I remember going to Phoenix, the Copper World Classic the first time, and saw midgets, sprints, super modifieds, and stock cars all on the same weekend at the Copper World Classic. And that was impressive to see sprint cars on a mile paved track. That was like, holy crap, they're flying around.
So speaking about Orange Show and looking up over the stands, ever have any in the pits altercations?
Me?
Ever had the bring out the pugilist in you?
I had a few altercations, but most of the time it wasn't. It was the crews that would get out of hand, or there was some times when they opened up the pits and the fans were in there, and somebody would say something, and some push and shove and match would occur. I actually, in my archive paperwork stuff, I have a letter from NASCAR where I had gotten suspended from NASCAR. They suspended me from racing for the accusation. They accused me of drinking in the pits, fighting, and profanity against an official and all this other stuff. Well, it just so happened a friend of mine had their video camera and videoed the whole altercation. And when I got the letter, it was funny. I went to Saugus the next week to race, and a guy named Monty Montanello that ran the track there, he says, I can't let you race tonight. Well, why is that? He goes, well, we got this copy of this letter from NASCAR. It says you've been suspended from all NASCAR tracks. And Saugus was a NASCAR track at the time. I'm like, what? That's bullshit. I told him, I didn't do all of these things. And Monty says, I'm going to let you race here tonight. And he says, if I find out this is all true, you'll never race here again. So we got home, and that's when we heard about the letter. I got home and found the letter in the mail, read it. We actually sent a copy of the video to NASCAR, and I got a letter reinstating me back in NASCAR and apologizing because what they had, the story was reversed. The video showed that I didn't cuss at anybody. I didn't start the fight. I didn't throw the first punch. A spectator started it. I don't even know who it was or how it started. And when the punches were being thrown, I was the one backing up, not doing anything. And I telling my guys, don't do anything, because if you throw a punch, you're gonna get in trouble. So I still just ran on the NASCAR letterhead. I kept that letter suspending me. But yeah, I was lucky that I had somebody had videoed it, and I got that one. But I've had some people get in my face and disagree with my driving style once in a while, but nothing, no black eyes. I usually could duck them before they got there.
What about on the track? Any memorable moments? Have you ever had any like really bad wrecks or?
El Centro, brand new IMCA modified, first race out. I won my qualifying heat, and the car was just lightning fast. We started at the back of the heat. They're usually 8 to 10 cars, 10 laps. Won my qualifying heat. Out the third lap of the main event, I went to the top, was just picking cars off. The car just was so fast. And one of the local guys that was pretty fast was trying to hang with me. Well, he got in the corner too hard and clipped me and spun me around. As I was going around, another guy hit me and the car flipped over. So a brand new car, I put it upside down and wound up landing on its top first time racing it. I was like, oh man. So yeah, that one rung my bell pretty good. I was seeing stars when I got out. I'm like, wow, that's weird. But yeah, brand new car. So yeah, that was my worst crash. I've scared myself a few times. I lost the brakes at Riverside once. You turn 9, you go into turn 9, about 170, 80 miles an hour, and the brake pedal went clear to the floor. That scared me. I almost hit the wall, came in the pits, and I told the guys, before we take this car back on the track, we must fix the brakes.
Did you completely lose brakes?
Completely lost the brakes.
So when you pulled in or how'd you get through that next corner? Or when you pulled in
I went into the corner, I kind of cut the corner, when it wouldn't slow down, so I downshifted and kind of cut the corner off. The car slid up, and I was waiting for it to hit the wall, and it just slid up, and I don't know how it didn't rub the wall. Kind of come around the track, just slowed down, downshift, come in the pits, and just used the gear and pulled into the pit to shut it off. And what caused that was what they call run out in the rotors. On a short track, you can have more run out. It's the wobble in the rotor. It won't affect the car. But at Riverside, you go down the back straightaway at 180 miles an hour, it affects them. So it basically turns the brake fluid and the foam, which they don't work. So that was an interesting learning curve about that.
Ever have a throttle stick?
No, been lucky on that. Never had a throttle stick. Because I'm real thorough on my cars and I work on them, you know, I'm risking my own life. I'm real good about, you know, clearances on the throttle linkage, the return springs hooked up correctly, and all that. Probably one of the biggest, I want to say, feathers in my racing career cap is the amount of races that I finish. I would probably say it's in the mid 90%. I very rarely ever break down. You've seen me run. I stay out of trouble. You know, it's that old saying, in order to finish first, I first got to finish. So I just patterned myself at, you know, going there with the best car, with the best stuff I can get on it, and gone over very thorough. I mean, I check stuff. If things are starting to wear out, I change them. I've got a pretty good feel for a car. If something isn't right, I can usually tell something's starting to go wrong with it. So I've had just a lot of experience doing that. You know, I've been racing, this will be my 40th year racing. I've got that down pretty pat on what will and won't work. You know, I don't Mickey Mouse anything. I spend my money wisely. I buy good quality stuff where I need it, and I take care of my stuff.
Like I said, last year was your rookie year in the modifieds, and did you have to replace any door panels or noses? Or
no, that's the car we ran. Was it 11 races I think we ran? Got a few little scruff marks here and there, but nothing. Didn't have to replace anything on it.
You're really going to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, that's your first and main goal, is to stay out of trouble. I mean, if you're tore up, you don't finish.
If you can come out of without having to replace body parts,
yeah,
that's an accomplishment right there.
Yeah. Orange Show was kind of embarrassing for me because I got into two different people and spun them out, and it was purely accidental. It was William Guevara coming off of turn 2. He squiggled a little. I was too close to him, and I clipped him and turned him around. And then the 3 car coming off 4, same thing. He wiggled a little, and I was too close, and I dumped him. And I usually don't run into people and spit them out. And it was a TV race, and it was late in the race, and I'm like, Rosa and them are going to be mad at me for causing 2 yellows. I was like, God, I can't believe I did that.
What do you like more, asphalt or dirt?
I like the dirt. There are different reasons. I like the dirt more because it's more of a driver's thing. It isn't, in the Lucas series, you have to have a good car, a good motor, and a good crew to go with that. You know,
you almost have to have a dedicated tire guy.
Yeah, I mean, the whole team effort, the whole gamut of the Lucas Oil modified car is important. Any one of them ingredients missing, like a bad tire guy or a bad setup, you're not going to do well. The dirt, if your car handles pretty good and the motor's pretty good and you're a really good driver, you could put it up front. In the Lucas series, if you're down on horsepower, if you're at Kern or Irwindale, you're not going to win. I don't care how good of a driver or the setup.
Have you ever run before at Tucson?
I ran my late model back about 88 or 89. We went over there for it used to be a NASCAR track, and we actually finished second in the NASCAR points back then. And it was an accumulation of your best 22 races. So if your home track didn't have 22 races, you went to the next closest track, and Tucson was the next closest NASCAR sanctioned track. I have a big silver placard thing with a NASCAR logo on it for finishing second in the NASCAR points in the Western region, whatever they called it back then. I think that was in 88 or 89. long time ago. But yeah, that's the first time I went to Tucson was with a late model type car.
How many championships would you say you have? How many different divisions?
I think it's 11 track championships. A regional. See, like I said, the Vegas one was a weird one because I won the dirt track and the paved track both. And then the management there, I wasn't one of their favorite people, so they said, well, we're going to combine that. Well, IMCA gave me a trophy for the dirt track championship, and then they gave me a trophy that says the bull ring track championship. To me, they're two different tracks. So that year I won technically four championships in that 1 year. But I think it's either 11 or 12. I lost count. I can't remember. But we won. I think I have 9 IMCA track championships. And then we won Pahrump 1 year, which it wasn't a sanctioned track within like IMCA or NASCAR or anything like that. Won one at another little Mesquite Valley Raceway. We won the championship there, and it was just kind of like it isn't sanctioned. It's just that somebody owns a track and they put on races. Like Mojave Valley, it's an IMCA sanctioned track. So if you race there, win a championship, you get an IMCA trophy for it. And we won the championship at Mojave 1 year too. So yeah, I think it's 11 different track championships. Mostly in the dirt modified. I had probably more success in the dirt modified than any car I've ever had.
Were any of those a cakewalk, or was every one of them a challenge?
They all had different challenges. Like Casa Grande, when we won the championship there, I got lucky. But the other racers did something that made it easy for me. In IMCA racing, the first race of the year, you draw a pill for your starting spot because they don't qualify like pavement racing. So you draw a pill and you start your qualifying heat. How you finish in your heats, how you line up in the main. After the first race, they line you up by points. So anytime someone wins an IMCA championship, they didn't do it from the front row. If you're the point leader, you start at the back of your qualifying heat. Okay, so say you've got, we'll say you got 20 cars. They'll run 3 heat races. Okay, they'll transfer the top 4, which means 12 guys transfer. They make your top 12 spots. So if you're the point leader and you win your qualifying heat, you're going to start 12th in the main event. That's the best you're going to do. If you finish, so no matter what. So Casa Grande, as the point leader there, I never started better than 12th. But what guys did, they figured out, if you're running for points, you want to do the best you can every race. If you're just trying to knock down wins, then what guys did back then was, if you showed up at the first race and you drew a high number, so you started way back in your qualifying heat, just pull off, put your car on the trailer that night. You get 5 show-up points. The guy that won got 40. So the second race, they line up off point average. So the guy that's got 5 points, where does he start? On the front row. Where does he start in the main event? On the front row. So that year we won the championship. I never started better than 12th. And if you miss the transfers, like say you don't make the top 4 in your heat race, you finish 5th or 6th, you're starting further back than 12th. Follow what I'm saying? So like the guy that finishes 5th in the first heat race, he starts 13th. The guy that finishes 5th in the second heat race is 14th. So if I was in the 3rd heat race and finished 6th, I would be starting like 16th in the field. So you're going to start deep in the field. But the guy that won the first heat race and only had 5 points, he's going to start on the pole in the main. Well, some of the faster guys were doing that. So it took them out of the points hunt. If you pull up and only have 5 points, yeah, your point average is low. You're going to start up, you may win, but you don't have any points. So we wound up, there was 3-4 guys that were really fast there that they won most of the races. But the ones I didn't win, I finished 2nd or 3rd in. So once a guy pulled up one time to lower his point average, he was out of the points race. So I want to say probably the 3 most competitive guys there did that. So it made it the championship easy to win. Follow what I'm saying? They kind of took themselves, it's like missing a race. So that made it easier for me to win the championship. That one came easy. One of the last ones I won, 2013, I won the one in Tonopah, and it came down to the last race. Literally, I had a 3-point lead over the local hot dog at that track. It was his track. He was kind of the guy to beat there. Well, he was on kill mode. He was gonna win that race come heck or high water. So it came down to me and him the last race, and he made a mistake about midway through the main. I got by him and won the race and won the championship. He was pretty disheartened. He thought he had it, and it was like, man, if he doesn't make a mistake, I'm not going to get by him. I wasn't going to dunk him. I don't race that way. I raced him as hard as I could, and he just, you know how you set a dirt car sideways going in? It didn't set, it picked up a push, and when it pushed up on him, I went by him, and that was all it took. So I've had some of them come down right to the wire like that. So yeah, some of them have been pretty fun. Some of them, like the year we won at Pahrump, they had a 30 race season, and we probably won 20 of the races that year. By, I want to say probably 2 or 3 races before the end of the year, we had clinched the championship there. So it was that one was kind of easy. So yeah, some of them been easy, some of them been hard. Some of them luck, you know, circumstances. Always fun. Always fun.
What does Mark see in the next 5 years?
Retired in the Bahamas.
How likely is that?
Not likely. I don't know. I don't have any real plans. I still enjoy driving the race cars and racing. I don't golf. I don't play tennis. I don't do anything like that. I come home from work and work in the shop here on my race cars. Kind of a vacation every weekend when I go racing somewhere. So, I wish I could find a younger kid that was enthusiastic and wanted to learn and you know, show some potential to put in one of these cars, but most of them, they don't want to work on them, they don't want to do anything, they just want to drive them. And I haven't seen anyone that their talent jumps out. I said, that kid got it. I think he could do well, and put him in my car. I don't see that. I see remnants of younger kids that have the potential to do that. There's a couple of kids that run it there at Havasu. I've watched them. That they seem to do pretty good. There ain't very many people I put in my car that I want them to tear it up.
Have you ever looked at the SRL series? You ever had any interest in that?
When we ran the Rocky Mountain Challenge series, we had a couple of combination races where we ran with them. Salt Lake City was one, so it was a SRL Rocky Mountain race. And I think Spokane, Washington was the other one that was a SRL Rocky Mountain race. So yeah, I'm on their list. They would like me to come race with them, but my car just doesn't quite fit their rules. It originally, when it was before when it was the Southwest Tour, it was NASCAR. When NASCAR pulled the plug on them and it kind of died, the Northwest and Southwest Tour, it used to be the Davey Hamilton Wild West series, and it was kind of a run what you brung series, and a little bit of traveling, you know, it's a handful of tracks. Well, SRL kind of took it over and turned it into what it is now, that whole series. It's kind of like NASCAR racing. There's so many rules, and you know, you got to have a car specifically built for their rules. It doesn't, like my late model I got, it won't fit their rules. They might let me run if they were low on car count, because my car wouldn't be competitive with theirs anyway. So yeah, let him run, because he's not going to. If I showed up with a car that had an advantage and it could win with, then I'm not much racing. Which, rightfully so, why would you do that? So,
that looks like a pretty expensive series.
It is an expensive series. They're doing some things to curb the cost. They've gone to those spec motors. You know, they're trying to curb the cost. I think they're starting to limit the amount of tires they can have at each race, stuff like that. I think they're limiting test sessions. Anything that costs money, that gives somebody an advantage, that just outright money is all they're throwing at it. It appears they're trying to curb that, equal the playing field, so to speak.
Good luck with your 2018 series.
Yeah.
Modifieds and the Alaska stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the Alaska thing. It'd be really cool if Schrader's up there. I haven't seen him in a long time. It was probably 12 years ago we raced at Casa Grande with him, at least that long ago. So yeah, that could be fun. He's probably one of the best drivers in the country still today. It'll be a challenge to race with him.
All right.
We're all good?
We're good. All right.